Since the beginning of time, we human beings wanted to leave the little house that nature granted us, anticipating the glorious destiny that was promised to us. There is in human nature a nostalgia for divinity, a yearning for an eternal and transhumanized existence. Hence, we human beings want to be something more, since we self-affirm and reinforce the awareness of what we are. We have the desire to leave the little house that nature has given us. We want to get out of ourselves, going beyond the limits within which we were confined. In some cases, this desire for transcendence that invades us is reinforced by the desire to escape the pain, physical or moral, that afflicts us, becoming an escape valve through which we sublimate our suffering. But in many other cases, the desire for transcendence can exist without physical or psychological suffering. Healthy and fortunate people also feel the desire to go beyond themselves. They feel a deep disgust for their own personality. They feel a burning desire to free themselves from this unsatisfactory identity that for them is similar to a cage. Even if it is a golden cage, even if within it they enjoy perfect health and every kind of happiness. Any man or woman, whether the happiest or the most wretched, can feel suddenly or gradually this disagreement with their own being, and this awareness of disagreement can generate an agonizing and peremptory desire to leave the prison of the self, to fly free of restrictions. In fact, being what we are is very tiring, and it is natural that we are anxious to overcome our limitations. This afflicted awareness of the condemnation that constitutes our daily lives is brought to us by our fallen nature, and it's a burden that all human beings feel, to a greater or lesser degree, depending on how aware we are of who we are. If we feel the desire to leave the little house that nature has given us, it is because we know who we really are, because we know intimately the ultimate end, the purpose and the objective of our existence, even if we do not know how to formulate it, which is none other than that of merging with the foundation of our life, in such a way that this foundation floods our conscience, as happens to St. Paul when he writes to the Galatians, I am nailed with Christ to the cross. I live, but it is no longer I who live. It is Christ who lives in me. When we are able to transcend our absolute self, our eternal self is free to carry out this fusion. Although still trapped in a perishable body, we know that we are part of the eternal. In some privileged beings, this fusion can be fully realized in this life, through mystical union. We ordinary mortals, on the other hand, must be content to die for this fusion to take place. However, while this life lasts, we can only prepare the way upward for that liberation, predisposing us to receive the grace that helps us to forget the deep dissatisfaction of being outdated and feeling eternal. Religion is dedicated to preparing this path of liberation, but when it is assimilated in a distorted way, it can also become an obstacle, degenerating into a bewildered activism or into self-induced fantasies and visions. But what happens in those societies and phases of history in which religion does not accompany our passionate desire to go beyond the limits of our obsolete and prisoner selves? Then the path to liberation ceases to be upward, and the human being desire to transcend the little house that nature has assigned him becomes an invasion downwards, through crude substitutes for grace such as alcohol or drugs, towards a stage of animality and mental derangement, or else it moves horizontally towards something vaster than the self, but not higher or essentially other, trying to encompass, in a tumultuous way, diverse human experiences. Among these horizontal shifts are the so-called gender theories, which promise that human beings will be able to leave their homes just because they feel that they are others. Inevitably, these substitutes for the upward path, these grotesque substitutes for grace, are unsatisfactory at best and almost always disastrous because, far from allaying human discontent, they only magnify it to the point of turning it into irrevocable unhappiness.